Rain drizzles down like the sky is whispering secrets. A narrow alley behind a grand church hums with faint echoes of laughter, clinking glasses, and wedding bells that never fully reach this forgotten corner. A woman in a torn white dress stumbles into the alley, mascara bleeding down her face. Her veil hangs loose, half crown, half cage. She leans against a damp brick wall, breath trembling. She wasn't running from a man. She was running from a version of herself she could no longer stand to marry. The bouquet slips from her hand, scattering petals into puddles. Her sobs are quiet at first, then violent, the kind that makes your whole body shake, like grief and exhaustion finally agreed to take turns. From the other end of the alley, footsteps approach. Slow, careful, hesitant. A man in his 50s, clothes faded but clean, carrying a dented metal thermos and a paper bag. His face is lined with weariness, the kind only loss can carve. He pauses, watches her. Man, gently. "You look like you could use something warm." The woman startles, wipes her face. Bride. "Please, just go." Man quietly. "All right, but it's chicken soup. My daughter used to say it fixed everything except algebra." She glances up. His tone is soft, disarming. She hesitates. Bride. You shouldn't be here. This is private property." Man shrugs. So is pain. Doesn't stop it from showing up where it wants. He sets the thermos beside her and starts to leave. Her voice breaks before he gets far. Bride. "Wait." He turns, the faintest trace of compassion flickering in his eyes. Bride. Barely audible. "You said your daughter. Does she still think soup fixes everything?" He doesn't answer right away. The rain fills the silence. Man. "I'm not sure she thinks of me at all anymore." She looks at the thermos, steam curling through the damp air, and pulls it close, like an apology she hasn't said yet. And in that quiet corner of a loud world, two strangers shared the same kind of ache. The bride takes a slow sip, closing her eyes. When she opens them, he's still there, not intruding, just waiting. A small tremor of calm moves through her chest. A hand offers her a thermos of soup, and something she didn't know she needed. Kindness. The bride cradles the warm thermos like it's the only steady thing in her shaking hands. Steam rises, soft and forgiving. She sips again, slower this time. The man leans against the opposite wall, careful not to stare. His coat is worn, stitched at the elbow. His shoes, the kind people stop wearing when life keeps moving too fast. Bride, softly. "You're not with them, are you? The guests?" He smiles, but only with his eyes. Man. "No. Just passing through. Soup drop-off for the shelter on 6th. Took a shortcut." Bride, looking down. "You took a wrong turn then." Man, gently. "Or maybe the right one. Depends who you ask." She forces a half laugh. It catches in her throat. Bride. "You always talk like that? Like you're in a book?" Man smirks. "No, only when I see a woman in a wedding dress sitting in the rain." She hugs her knees. Her dress is soaked at the hem, no longer pure white, just real. Bride. "I didn't think anyone would see me." Man nods. "Sometimes we don't want to be seen. Sometimes we don't know how much we need it." She studies him now, the tired eyes, the hands that look like they used to build things. Bride. "Do you have a daughter?" He hesitates, then nods. Man. "Had. Still do, I guess. Somewhere." Bride. "She must be lucky." Man, barely smiling. "She used to be. Before I messed it up, a gust of wind sweeps through. Her veil floats, then settles on the puddle beside her. Bride, quietly. "You reminded me of my father at first, but you're nothing like him." He looks at her. Really looks. Like he's trying to see past the smeared makeup and into the bruise of her heart. Man. "You reminded me of my daughter once, when she still looked at me like I could fix things. Two strangers. No names, no promises, just old wounds recognizing each other in the rain. You reminded me of my daughter once. The rain has softened to a mist, the kind that lingers without purpose. The bride sits on the curb now, shoes off, toes pale against the cold pavement. The man settles beside her, leaving a respectful gap, like he's learned that closeness is a privilege, not a right. Bride. Half laughing, half broken. What kind of man carries soup around? Man, smiling faintly. The kind who knows hunger isn't just in the stomach. She looks down, stirring the soup absently with the lid spoon. Bride. You really don't know me, do you? Man. No. And that might be the best thing I have going for me right now. Her laugh is small, an exhale that sounds more like disbelief than amusement. Bride. Everyone in that church wants something. My family wants to show off. He wants a perfect wife. And me, I just wanted to stop crying long enough to say, I do. Man. And did you? She shakes her head, biting her lip. Bride. I couldn't. I looked at him and saw a stranger who knew my schedule better than my soul. A moment. Only the faint hum of city noise beyond the alley. Man, softly. Maybe that's not failure. Maybe that's survival. Bride. Eyes glistening. You talk like you've been through something. He nods slowly, eyes lowering to his hands. Man. Lost my wife first. Then my daughter to distance, the kind that can't be measured in miles. Bride. Whispers. Did she stop loving you? Man. After a pause. No. She just learned to live without waiting for me. The bride blinks hard, swallowing the lump rising in her throat. Bride. You should have been my dad. He turns to her, startled, not offended, not confused, just quietly undone. In a world where promises were traded like currency, that sentence, fragile and foolish, felt like a prayer neither of them knew how to finish. She pushes the thermos toward him. Bride, softly. Your turn. You look like you could use it more. You should have been my dad. The man takes the thermos, warms his fingers around the metal like it's holding more than soup, like it's holding time. The bride watches him. Rain clings to her eyelashes, but she doesn't blink. Bride, quietly. What happened? With your daughter? He doesn't look at her. Just unscrews the cap, takes a small sip, then speaks. Like each word has to pass through something broken first. Man. It started with forgetting her field trip money, then missing a play, then her mother's funeral. Grief doesn't ask for permission. It just sits on your chest until you stop showing up. Bride. You didn't show up. Man. Nods. Not even to say goodbye when she moved out. I thought she'd come back when she cooled off. Turns out she just learned how to live without my noise. The bride rests her chin on her knees. Her voice comes softer now, like she's afraid of what her honesty might cost. Bride. My dad's alive, I think. He left before I could walk. The only thing he ever gave me was a last name and a reason not to trust. Man. I'm sorry. Bride. Don't be. That's why I learned to become everything I needed. Strong. Sharp, smile on command. She pulls at the sleeves of her gown, suddenly aware of how fragile it all feels. Bride. Bitter laugh. But today, I was weak. I ran. Man. That's not weakness. That's courage when it costs you everything. A beat. The rain stops like the sky itself is listening. Bride. Whispers. I know what it feels like. To be left behind by everyone. He finally looks at her. Really looks. His eyes say what his mouth doesn't. Me too. The alley was no church, but somehow it had more truth than any altar. The bride says, I know that kind of abandonment. The streetlights buzz to life, casting a yellow glow across puddles and peeling bricks. Somewhere far off, laughter erupts. A wedding toast, untouched by truth. The bride rubs her bare arms. The man shrugs off his coat and gently lays it over her shoulders without a word. Bride, smiling weakly. You don't even know my name. Man, gently. You don't need a name to know someone's breaking. She closes her eyes. The sound of distant violin music floats in the background. Too perfect, too clean. Bride murmurs, We practiced our vows last night. In front of the mirror. He read his off his phone. Said mine sounded too emotional. Man, raising an eyebrow. Isn't that the point? Bride. He doesn't like when I cry. Calls it a form of manipulation. The man stiffens, subtle but sharp. Man. Tears are honesty leaking out. That's not manipulation. That's courage. She leans her head back against the wall, staring up at the night sky where clouds drift like unspoken truths. Bride. I wanted to believe love was a destination. Turns out, it was just another performance. Man. Maybe not. Maybe you were just reading someone else's script. She turns to him now, eyes rimmed red, but clear. Bride, barely above a whisper. What if I'm not strong enough to rewrite it? He doesn't flinch. He just reaches into his coat pocket, pulls out a scrap of old receipt paper and a dull pencil, hands them to her. Man. Then start small. Write one line that's yours. She takes it slowly, hesitates, then writes, I deserve to feel safe in love. She reads it aloud. Her voice cracks, then steadies. Bride, looking at him. Do you think that's true, man? More than anything. A long silence. The music from the church stops. The applause begins. Man, softly. Do you want to run? Her breath catches. She doesn't answer. Narrator. Some questions echo long after they're asked. Not because we don't know the answer, but because we're scared of what happens if we do. He asks, Do you want to run? The bride rises slowly, the man's coat still around her shoulders. Her gown, once crisp and fitted, now clings like a second skin, creased, damp, honest. Inside the church, the music shifts, a swelling instrumental cueing her entrance. Bride, looking through the window. They'll think I was powdering my nose. Fixing a smudge, not deciding if I wanted to leave my whole life behind. The man watches her carefully. He doesn't push, doesn't interrupt the ache working through her. Man, you don't owe them a performance, only a truth, even if it's silent. She turns to him, her expression torn, stitched together with threads of defiance and fear. Bride, walk in with me, just for a moment. No one has to know who you are. Man, uneasy. I'm not wearing the right shoes for a wedding. Bride, smiling faintly. Neither am I. They move toward the side entrance. She pauses, wipes under her eyes, and fixes what little of her veil remains. Inside, chandeliers sparkle. The kind of sparkle that makes people forget how dull their own lives are. She slips the man through the back doors, ushers him to a seat on the last pew, farthest corner, half hidden by a column. Bride, whispers, Stay, just until I walk down the aisle. I need to know someone real is watching. Man, softly. And after? She looks away, shoulders tensing. Bride. After, I don't know. Every love story has an audience. But sometimes, it's the person in the shadows, quiet, unseen, that gives it its soul. As she turns to go, he calls out once, just loud enough for her to hear. Man, you already wrote your first line. Don't forget it. She nods, her fingers clutching the scrap of receipt paper in her palm like it's sacred. Stay until I walk down. I need you there. The man sits on the farthest pew, half obscured by a marble column. The church is dressed in gold and ivory. A fairy tale wedding draped over a fragile truth. Crystal chandeliers hang overhead, throwing fractured light onto the polished floor. Rows of suited men and jeweled women murmur with excitement. He doesn't belong here, and he knows it. Still, he stays. He'd built homes once. Now he sat in one that never asked for him, but her voice still echoed in his coat. "Just until I walk down." He shifts uncomfortably, trying to disappear into the bench. A woman beside him glances at him, curls her nose slightly, then turns away. He watches the altar, then the empty aisle, then the heavy church doors. A string quartet hums softly. The atmosphere holds its breath. "Man," softly to himself. "Don't run, not now. You made it this far." The doors creak open, everyone stands. She appears. The bride, his stranger, his reflection, now, cleaned up just enough to pass for composed, but not enough to erase the storm beneath her skin. Her steps are measured, controlled. Her eyes, though, scan the pews like she's searching for air. She sees him, in the shadows, and she breathes. The tension in her shoulders softens. Her chin rises a fraction, and she takes another step. He doesn't smile, but he doesn't flinch either. In that moment, from 40 feet away, they have a conversation no one else hears. Sometimes, it's not the one holding your arm that gives you strength. It's the one who stays when no one asks them to. She keeps walking. He lowers his gaze. The music swells louder, but he doesn't move, doesn't blink. He's exactly where she asked him to be. She locks eyes with him during the ceremony. The bride's heels click on the marble, each step precise, too precise. Like she's afraid any misstep will shatter the illusion. Gasps hush behind smiles. Guests lean forward. Cameras rise. The groom waits at the altar. Perfect posture. Forced grin. His hands are folded too tight. The string quartet plays the melody she once chose for a day she never imagined would feel like this. She looked like a dream. But dreams don't sweat. Dreams don't tremble. Dreams don't make eye contact with the man in the shadows and silently beg for courage. Step, step, step. She slows, step, then stops. A silence heavier than music fills the room. Whispers rise like wind in tall grass. The officiant shifts, uncertain. The groom's eyes narrow, his smile twitching. She stares forward, but her hands clench the sides of her dress. The paper scrap from earlier is still balled in her fist. "Groom," through his teeth. "Keep walking." She doesn't move. Her eyes lift, past the guests, past the altar, to the very last pew. She finds him again. The man who sat when no one invited him. The man who waited, and something inside her breaks loose. She takes a breath. "Bride," whispers. "I can't do this." The words aren't loud, but they ripple. The quartet stumbles. Bows squeak against strings. Someone gasps audibly. The groom's mother frowns in horror. A bridesmaid covers her mouth. The bride closes her eyes. Her chest rises like she's surfacing from water. She turns, just slightly. Enough for the crowd to shift. She didn't run, but she didn't finish either. And sometimes the bravest thing a person can do is stop. Her next words are whispered, but felt by everyone. "Bride," barely audible. "I can't do this." The bride stands frozen. One hand at her side, the other clenched tightly around a crumpled piece of paper. All eyes are on her. The groom's smile has collapsed. The officiant glances toward the back in confusion. The room is still, except for the rustling of guests turning in their seats and the flutter of someone's program hitting the floor. Groom, low, urgent. "What are you doing?" She turns to him. The calm in her voice is terrifying. "Bride, choosing myself. For once." And then she turns completely, her dress twisting like it's following her decision. Her gaze sweeps across the pews, past her mother's horrified face and her father's clenched jaw. It lands on the man in the back row, and she lifts a trembling hand, points. "Bride, clear, steady. I want him to walk me down the aisle." Gasps erupt like thunder. The crowd stirs, scandalized. Cameras flash, Murmurs swirl. The man doesn't move. He looks like he's just been struck. Groom, shouting, "What the hell? Is this a joke? You don't even know him." Bride, soft but firm, "I know enough. He showed up." Mother of the bride, rising, "Sit down, this is ridiculous." Bride, cutting, "No, Mom. What's ridiculous is marrying someone who wouldn't have followed me when I ran out crying." She walks back slowly, toward the pews, toward him. It wasn't the kind of whisper meant for one person. It was the kind that cracked porcelain silence, the kind that demanded to be heard. She reaches the last row. He stands. Man, quietly, "You don't have to do this." Bride, tears rising, "I know, but I want to." She holds out her hand. Bride, softly, "Walk with me." His fingers shake as he takes hers. Guests gasp, and the groom turns pale. The room is no longer just quiet, it's breathless. Every guest is either frozen in disbelief or whispering in chaos. Phones discreetly rise to record, but she doesn't see them. She only sees him. The man's hand trembles in hers, weathered fingers calloused from years of doing things that didn't feel like enough. Man, low, unsure. "This isn't mine to take." Bride, soft but certain, "This moment is yours too." She adjusts her grip like she's holding something more sacred than tradition. She wasn't asking for a replacement. She was recognizing a presence, a kindness that arrived without expectation and stayed without condition. They take one step, then another. No music cues this time, just the echo of their footsteps. Guest, whispering, "Who is he?" Other guest, "He's not her dad." Groom, from the altar, voice shaking, "This is insane. You're embarrassing yourself." The bride doesn't flinch. Bride, calmly, "I'd rather be embarrassed for choosing truth than celebrated for performing a lie." She tightens her hold on the man's arm. He straightens just slightly, like she loaned him her spine. Man, quietly, "I never got to do this. With my daughter. I always thought it was too late." Bride, "Maybe this is her moment too. Maybe she's watching." He blinks hard, swallows the lump rising in his throat. The final steps to the altar feel slower, heavier, like they're walking through all the years both of them lost. To silence, to pride, to pain. They reach the front. The bride turns to him. Bride, gently, "Thank you." He nods. No words. Just the kind of look only a father gives when he's proud, and broken, and whole, all at once. From the last row, a young woman stares. Her hand trembles in her lap. Her eyes burn. Not everyone clapped, but someone cried. His daughter is watching from the last row. She didn't expect to feel anything. She told herself she came out of curiosity, out of numbness, but now she couldn't look away. His hand in hers, the walk, the look he gave that stranger at the altar. The same look she used to crave like sunlight. Once, she believed her father was a mountain, silent, strong, unmoving. But when he disappeared, she learned even mountains could run. The daughter, Grace, early 20s, smart eyes, messy dignity, grips the side of the pew. Tears threaten, but she swallows them. She's good at that. Grace, softly to herself, "He left me. And now he plays dad to strangers." Flash, memory, age 10, school auditorium. A young Grace in a paper crown scans the audience. Teacher, on mic. And next, we thank all the parents who came to support our little stars. Clapping all around her, hugs, waving hands. She just stands there, crown slipping, eyes searching the empty seats. Present, church. Back row. Grace squeezes her hands into fists. Nails dig into palms. The groom is raging. The room is a storm. But none of it registers. Only him. That man who once missed her birthdays, her tears, her triumphs. And now, he was here, for someone else. She rises quietly, walks down the side aisle, out of sight. Not toward the door. Not yet. She stops behind a pillar, leans against the cool stone, breathes, grace, whispers. She doesn't even know how he forgets people, how easy it is for him to leave, and yet, she doesn't leave. She stays in the shadows, watching the man she once called Dad walk someone else toward a moment that used to be hers. Sometimes jealousy isn't bitterness, it's grief dressed in armor. He left me and now plays dad to strangers? They stand side by side at the edge of the altar, in front of flowers too expensive, guests too shocked to blink, and a groom too stunned to move. The bride doesn't tremble anymore, and the man at her side, the stranger turns steady hand carries, himself like this single walk rewound time and gave him back something he thought was buried. Some walks are just steps, others are redemption stitched into movement. They turn together and take the first step back down the aisle. But this isn't the ceremonial giving away. It's the taking back. Her power, his presence, their peace. Gasps follow each footfall, but they don't flinch. Groom, sharply. This isn't part of the ceremony. The officiant lowers the book slowly. Bride, without turning. Exactly. Step, bride. To the man, voice low. I used to think this walk was meant to lead me to someone. Step, bride. But now I know, it can lead me away too. He glances at her, eyes misted. Man, you sure? Bride. No, but I'm still walking. That's got to count for something. At the halfway point of the aisle, a hush falls over the crowd again. But this time, it's different. It's not discomfort. It's reverence. The kind of silence usually reserved for altars. They weren't father and daughter by blood, but grief recognized grief. And sometimes, that's thicker than DNA. As they near the doors, a little girl peeks out from a pew and waves. The bride smiles. The man nods. They step through the doors, into the cold air, into freedom. Together, bride. Softly to herself. You're walking me toward myself. You're walking me toward myself. The doors slam softly behind them, but inside the church the aftershock still lingers. The groom stands alone at the altar, fists clenched, veins tight against skin. His face is locked in a frozen half-smile that can't decide if it wants to shatter or scream. Gasps, whispers, disbelief. A bridesmaid clears her throat. The officiant shifts awkwardly. The groom looks at the crowd, then at the empty aisle, then back at the crowd. Groom, coldly. I guess we're skipping vows. A forced chuckle escapes him. No one laughs with him. Groom, louder. You all came for a wedding. So did I. But apparently, this is now an audition for trauma bonding. Narrator. Pain has a way of making the loud feel loudest. But sometimes, the echo belongs to the one who walks away. One of the guests stands, a woman in pearls, and speaks without asking. Woman, firm. She didn't look broken when she left. She looked brave. Murmurs ripple like thunder behind velvet. The groom paces at the front, then stops mid-stride. Turns to the audience, arms out. Groom. Brave? She embarrassed me. Walked out with a man she just met. A hush, voice, from back. Maybe he treated her like a person, not a performance. He looks around, breath ragged, then slams his fist onto the podium. Groom. This isn't love. This is a show. And maybe he was right. But it wasn't her show. Not anymore. The doors creak open again. All heads turn. She steps back inside. Just a few steps. Alone now, eyes forward, chin high. Veil off bride. Clear, calm. I'm not here for a second chance. Just closure. The groom glares. Groom. You humiliated me. Bride. No, I set myself free. This is not the life I want. She turns, walks out, for the last time. This is not the life I want. The bride steps into the cold evening air. Her breath fogs. The night wraps around her like a decision that can't be taken back. Behind her, the man stands under the old stone archway. Still, silent, like he's waiting to be dismissed or forgiven. Inside, the heavy oak doors burst open. The groom storms out. His tie is half untied now, his voice louder than the bells overhead. Groom, furious. You think you're some kind of hero? What are you, a soup saint? You think she's yours now? The man doesn't move, doesn't raise his voice. Man, quietly. She's not anyone's. She's hers. Groom, you don't even know her. Man, no, but I saw her. The groom scoffs, stepping closer. The bride turns, but the man raises a calm hand, still not blinking. Man, even. I'm not here to fight you. You've already lost more than you realize. Groom, bitter. She's impulsive, overdramatic. She'll come crawling back when the world gets cold. Bride, from behind. No, I won't. The groom turns. Her voice is sharp now but steady. Bride. Because someone already brought me soup in the cold, and he didn't ask for anything in return. The groom's mouth opens, but nothing comes out. He looks between them, one trembling with rage, the other calm like stone. Fury flails, but stillness cuts deeper, because stillness means you don't matter anymore. Groom, quietly. You'll regret this. Bride. Maybe. But regret's easier to carry than resentment. The groom storms off into the night. The sound of his dress shoes slapping pavement fades. She exhales. The man beside her finally looks at her. Man. You sure you're okay? Bride, smiling faintly. No, but I'm done pretending I am. He's more a man than you'll ever be. The church doors groan open again. This time, not in anger, in judgment. Her mother emerges first, stiff, controlled. Makeup flawless, not a hair out of place, even as her world tilts. Her father follows, a scowl welded into his face. His cufflinks gleam more than his eyes. They stop a few feet from the bride and the man, like approaching a stranger's crime scene. Mother, icy. Tell me this is temporary. Father, low growl. Do you have any idea what you've done? Bride, calmly. Yes, for once I do. Mother, you embarrassed us. Your father's clients were watching. You ruined everything we built for you. Bride, almost smiling. You didn't build it for me. You built it for your reputation. The father steps forward, finger raised. Father, you walk away from this. You walk away from us. Man, carefully, to the father. Then maybe don't make love conditional. Her father glares at him. Father, who are you to speak here? Man, steady. Someone who saw her crying in the rain and didn't keep walking. Mother, to bride. You left your future for a man you just met? Bride, softly. No, I left your future, so I could finally live mine. Silence. The hardest goodbyes are the ones you rehearse your whole life, only to find they still break you when spoken out loud. Her mother tightens her shawl. Her father doesn't even look back. They turn, walk past her, past the man, out into the street, without a hug, without a word. Gone. The bride watches them disappear down the block, eyes glassy, but she doesn't chase them. Bride, softly. You lose everything when you choose yourself, but sometimes you find peace in the ashes. You lost everything for me. A quiet pocket of the city breathes under amber streetlights. Trees rustle faintly, a fountain burbles in the background. The bride and the man sit on a worn wooden bench near the pond. Her heels dangle from her fingers. His coat is back on her shoulders. Neither speaks. Not right away. Some silences don't demand to be filled. They just ask to be shared. Across the path, a family walks by. A little boy in a suit tugs at his mother's hand, pointing at the bride. She waves. He waves back, then disappears into the dark. She exhales slowly. Bride. That kid. He looked like what I thought I'd be walking toward. Joy. Warmth. Not whatever today was. The man glances at her, then back at the water. Man. You didn't walk away from love. You walked toward it. She chuckles, but it's cracked. Bride. Then why does it feel like morning? Man. Because you buried the version of yourself everyone else wanted. It takes grief to become free. A beat. The park lights flicker as wind brushes through the leaves. She rubs her thumb across her palm, where the crumpled paper still presses faintly. Bride. You don't have to stay. You know, man, gently. I know. He doesn't move, neither does she. Bride, after a pause. Do you think I did the right thing? Man. Does your breath feel easier now? She nods. Man, smiling faintly. Then it was right. She leans her head on his shoulder, eyes closed, exhausted but lighter. Peace doesn't always come with a celebration. Sometimes it arrives on a park bench, in silence, with a stranger who understood. Bride, softly. You don't have to go. You don't have to go. The city has softened. Traffic hums like a lullaby in the distance. The sky is velvet now, a quiet black, pierced by occasional stars trying their best to be seen. The bride still leans against the man's shoulder. Her eyes are closed. His hand rests on the old thermos between them. Not all healing comes in waves. Some comes in steam, in stillness, in sips. He unscrews the lid. The faint aroma of chicken and thyme drifts upward. She opens her eyes. Bride, drowsy. You still carry that thing? Man, smiling. It's a habit. Soup's cheaper than therapy. He pours a small cup and hands it to her. She takes it, this time without hesitation. No tears, no trembling, just quiet trust. Bride, gently. You ever think about opening a restaurant? Man. I did. Once. Called it the second spoon. Didn't last long. Turns out comfort doesn't scale well. She smiles into the cup. Bride, you should try again. There's something healing about your kind of food. He watches her sip, the corner of his mouth lifting just slightly. Man, I didn't know how much I missed making this, until you drank it like it mattered. Bride, softly. It did. Wind ruffles her damp hair. The sounds of the city continue. But here, in this bubble, time sits down and rests with them. In a world full of speeches, arguments, noise, sometimes it's the spoon against a paper cup that speaks the loudest. The thermos sits between them again, shared, familiar, not just a container of warmth, a memory, a beginning. Bride. You make this for everyone you rescue? Man, grinning. Only the ones who run from churches in heels. I didn't know how much I missed making this. A modest space, books stacked sideways, a well-worn couch, a framed but dusty photo of a young girl holding a school project. My dad is my hero. He sits at the kitchen table flipping the lid off the empty thermos. It clinks softly on the counter. A low hum from his old laptop fills the room. A notification pings. He doesn't move at first, just stares at the screen, then leans forward slowly. Narrator. He hadn't opened that inbox in years, because hope ages poorly when left unanswered. The message preview glows in the corner. Is that really you? His breath catches. Hands freeze above the keyboard. He clicks. Computer screen view. Thread from Grace Collins. Timestamp 11:38. PM. I saw a video. You were at a wedding, walking someone down the aisle. You looked like you used to. Kind, present. Is that really you? The man leans back in the chair, blinking hard. The cursor blinks in the empty reply box like a question he isn't sure how to answer. He reaches for his mug, realizes it's empty. Sighs. Man. To himself. She found me through Soup. It wasn't the video that shook her. It was the way he looked at the bride. Like he remembered how. He hovers over the keys. Starts typing, deletes. Tries again, Grace. I didn't think you'd ever want to see me again. Pause. He stares at the blinking cursor, then closes the laptop without sending. Not yet, just, not yet. He presses his forehead to his hand. The thermos sits on the table beside him. Still warm from earlier. Is that really you? A barista scrolls through her phone behind the counter. Her eyes widen. Barista, gasps. You have to see this. She flips the screen toward her coworker. On screen, a vertical video, grainy, shaky, but raw. A bride in a damp dress walks down the aisle, not with her groom, with an older man in worn shoes and a borrowed coat. The caption reads, Bride walks out mid-ceremony with mystery man. Not her father, not her groom, just someone who showed up. Inti Hair Salon. Same time stylists huddle around a phone. Stylist 1. She left the rich guy. For a stranger with Soup? Stylist 2, teary. No, she left the wrong man for the right presence. Inti. Newsroom. Lunchtime. A junior producer drags the clip into a folder titled Viral Stories, Human Connection, Producer. Find him. I want names. Who is this man? The Soup Dad. That's the angle. Twitter. I'd marry whoever brings me soup when I'm breaking. Instagram. A reel with sad piano music hits 1.4 May views. Wait. Facebook. She chose kindness over tradition. Respect. TikTok. Teens reenact the moment with soup cups and fake veils. The internet doesn't wait for context. It crowns heroes fast, turns strangers into myths, and searches for meaning in blurry clips. Int man's apartment. Night. He opens his laptop again. Email notifications flood in. NBC interview request. Podcast guest opportunity. Thermos brand partnership. He scrolls stunned, then stops at one message. Subject. You looked like someone I used to know. From Grace Collins. He doesn't open it. He just stares. Then clicks the video link someone sent him. His own face. His own coat, but a version of himself he barely recognizes anymore. Man. Softly. What have we done? The internet wants to know who he is. Steam curls from the stove. Soup simmers in a chipped pot. He stands in the kitchen, ladle in hand, staring out the window like the world got louder overnight. His flip phone buzzes. Twice. Then again. A voicemail notification. 3 new texts. He turns on the tiny TV on the counter. TV Anchor. On screen. Adeda. Now being called the Soup Dad. This unidentified man walked a runaway bride down the aisle after she publicly canceled her wedding mid-ceremony. Co-host. Do we know who he is? Answer. No name yet, but the internet has questions. Was he a therapist? A long-lost uncle? An angel in a coat? He changes the channel. Same story. Turns off the TV, bride's studio apartment. Same time. She's at the window in pajamas, holding her phone. Notifications stream down her screen. Is this you? You go, girl. That man is everyone's dream dad. Where can I find a Soup Dad? She turns up the volume on her phone. The video plays again. There he is. His hand on hers, that quiet strength. Bride. Whispers. They don't even know your name. Park. Later. He sits on a bench with his thermos beside him. A teenage girl jogs past, then stops, turns. Teen girl. Excited. Wait, are you him? The guy from the wedding video? He looks startled. Teen girl. My mom and I cried watching that. She said she wished you were her dad too. He doesn't know what to say. She jogs off, smiling. He looks down at the thermos. He didn't chase attention. He just brought soup. But sometimes, Kindness leaves a louder echo than applause ever could. SFX. Knock! Knock! He turns. At the edge of the path, Grace, holding something in her hands. A knock on his door. It's his daughter. She stands still. Grace. Older now, but the same fire burns in her eyes. The kind that once begged for attention and later learned to live without it. She holds a paper bag, hands tight around it, shoulders squared like armor. The man, her father, rises slowly from the bench. Neither of them speaks. Not at first. There are reunions that come with tears, and then there are the ones where silence says, "You hurt me." He tries to smile, but stops when she doesn't. Man, softly. Grace. She nods once. No hug, no warmth, just presence. Grace. You look the same. Man nods. You don't. You look stronger. Her jaw tightens. Grace, quietly. Saw the video. You looked proud. Man, gently. I was. Grace. Was it easy? Giving someone else what you never gave me? He lowers his gaze. Man. No. It was never easy. It just wasn't too late for her. Grace, hurt. And it was for me? Man. I thought it was. I told myself I'd ruined it. That showing up now would only make it worse. She looks down at the bag in her hands, then thrusts it toward him. Grace. You used to bring me soup when I was sick. Even after Mom died, I found your old thermos in the attic. He opens the bag slowly. The same dented metal thermos, scrubbed clean. His hands tremble around it. It wasn't forgiveness. It wasn't warmth, but it was a door. Grace, quietly. I'm not here to fix anything. I just needed to see if you'd show up for me, too. A breeze brushes between them. He nods. No sudden words, no grand gestures, just stillness. You never showed up for me. The porch creaks beneath their steps. The man opens the door to his small apartment, but Grace hesitates on the threshold. The hallway behind him glows in soft yellow. A kettle hums faintly. The world inside smells like broth, dust, and things left unsaid. Man, gently. You don't have to come in, but you can. She steps inside, slowly, like she's walking into a memory she isn't sure she belongs to anymore. Apartment? Continuous. He gestures to a wooden chair. She sits stiffly, folds her arms. He places the thermos on the counter. Men, carefully. That thermos. I used to leave it by your door when I was too ashamed to knock. After the court dates. After your graduation. Grace. I know. I poured it out. Every time, he nods. Accepts it. Man. I deserve that. A long pause. She stares at the photos on the fridge. Ones of other people. A bride. A soup kitchen. A child's drawing. None of her. Grace, tight. You gave yourself away to strangers, and gave me silence. Man, quietly. I didn't know how to come back after I broke your heart. Grace. You just didn't. He sits across from her, wrings his hands once. Man. Your mother held everything together. When she was gone, I didn't know how to hold you without dropping you too. So I stayed away and called it protecting you. Her eyes glisten, but she doesn't wipe them. Grace, quietly. You didn't protect me. You disappeared, and I needed you anyway. The kettle whistles softly. Neither moves. Narrator. There are wounds that close over without healing, but still sting when touched by truth. He doesn't apologize. She doesn't forgive, but neither of them leaves. I didn't think I deserved to be your father. Steam curls from two mismatched mugs on the table. Grace sips her tea in silence. The man sits across from her, eyes heavy, fingers resting on the thermos like it anchors him to the moment. Then, a knock. He rises, opens the door. It's the bride. No veil, no dress, just a sweater, a nervous smile, and a small white envelope. Bride. To him. Sorry, I should have called. I needed to give you this. She glances past him. Sees Grace. Hesitates. Grace lifts her chin, guarded. Man, gently. Come in. Bride, soft. Actually, it's not for you. She holds the envelope out to Grace. Bride. To Grace. I don't know you, and I don't know what he was like when you needed him. But I know what he was like when I was drowning. And if you even have 1 ounce of space left in your heart for him, this might help. Grace doesn't move for a moment, then takes it. The bride nods once, a kind of silent thanks. Then she turns and disappears into the hallway. Apartment. Moments later, Grace sits at the table. The envelope lies in her lap. She opens it. Dear Grace, I met your father at my worst. He didn't ask who I was. He didn't try to fix me. He just stayed, quiet, present. He didn't act like a dad. He became one, without asking me to earn it. And I saw something in his eyes. A man waiting to be forgiven by someone who had every right not to. This isn't a request. It's a hope. That maybe you'll let him try. Tears slip from Grace's eyes. She folds the letter slowly. Grace, softly to herself. She saw him. When I couldn't. He saved my life with soup. Let him try with yours. Grace refolds the letter with trembling fingers. Her breath is steady but shallow, like her body isn't sure if it wants to cry or breathe. The man watches from across the room, not pushing, not reaching, just waiting. Some apologies arrive wrapped in someone else's handwriting, because sometimes it takes a stranger's eyes to see the part of someone we couldn't. She looks up. Grace, quietly. You didn't write it. But she's not wrong. He nods. Slowly. Grace, I hated you for a long time. Man, gently. You were right to. Grace. I needed you to show up, and when you didn't, I had to become everything I needed. Man, softly. I know, and I see what that made you. Strong, sharp, unshakable. A long pause. The only sound is the ticking of a clock on the wall. Grace, lowering her voice. But I'm tired of carrying both the blade and the bruise. She looks toward the kitchen. Grace. Still make soup? His smile returns. Hesitant, but real. Man. Every night. Same recipe. She said it fixes everything but algebra. A small laugh escapes her lips. Just a breath. But it's the first sign of softness. Grace. Quietly. I'm not promising anything. I don't know what this is, or if it can be anything again. He nods. Man. Then we don't name it. We just make dinner. She slowly gets up, walks to the kitchen, rolls up her sleeves. Grace. Softly. You still cut the carrots wrong. Man. Grinning. Some things haven't changed. Forgiveness doesn't come like lightning. It comes like soup. Slow, layered, and best served warm. You can cook dinner. That's it. The table is small, wobbles slightly when leaned on. 2 bowls sit side by side. 1 extra, empty. Grace stirs hers absent-mindedly, steam fogging her glasses. The man sips quietly. He's careful not to slurp, like the sound might break the fragile peace hanging between them. It wasn't a feast, but it was the first meal they'd shared in over a decade, and the silence between bites said more than most apologies ever could. Grace, after a few spoons, still heavy on the time. Man, smirking. You always said it tasted like backyard weeds, but you cleaned your bowl every time. Grace, deadpan. Because Mom would have yelled if I wasted food. He chuckles, softly, then stops. Guilt always follows laughter when it's been too long. The front door creaks open. They both look up. The bride steps inside, holding a small tray of biscuits wrapped in a dish towel. Bride, gentle. I didn't want to interrupt. Just thought. Soup deserved company. Grace studies her for a moment, then gestures at the third chair. Grace, quietly. You're already here. Might as well eat. The bride blinks, surprised. Man. We were just talking about time and trauma. Grace smirks. The bride laughs nervously, then sits. 3 bowls now. 3 stories. 3 people who weren't quite a family, but weren't strangers anymore either. They eat. Slowly. Together. The man refills each bowl from the pot, his hand steady now. It wasn't about the soup. It was about the act of showing up, of feeding something other than just hunger, of rebuilding something, even if it wasn't what it used to be. Grace, to the bride. You called him Soup Dad online, didn't you? Bride, grinning. Guilty. Grace, smirks. Figures. That's exactly the kind of thing I'd roll my eyes at, if it wasn't kind of true. They laugh. This time it lasts. This soup tastes like home. The sun seeps through half-open blinds. The air smells faintly of soup and cinnamon. The table still holds the biscuit tray, now empty. The man pours coffee into chipped mugs. Grace scrolls her phone from the couch, her legs tucked beneath her. Some mornings feel borrowed, like you woke up in a version of life you forgot was possible. Grace, reading. You're up to 4.8 million views. Soup Dad is trending. Again. He chuckles, shakes his head. Man, people really don't have anything better to do? Grace, dry. Apparently not. She pauses, scrolls again. Her expression shifts. Grace. You got an email. A big one. Man. Spam? Soup coupon? She tosses him her phone. He squints at the screen. On screen. Subject, feature guest invitation. Good morning, America. Message. We'd love to feature your story this week. America's Soup Dad deserves a voice. Viewers are asking to know the man behind the thermos. He stares at it. Man, after a moment. They want a headline, not a history. Grace studies him. Grace. So? Say no, or say yes. But don't pretend you're invisible anymore. The bride appears in the doorway with a half-eaten bagel. Bride. Morning. You're gonna do it, right? He raises an eyebrow. Man. You think the world needs more awkward old men who cook soup? Bride. No. I think the world needs to see what it looks like when someone shows up, even if it's late. He looks at both women. One he saved by accident, one he failed on purpose, and sees the same flicker of hope in their eyes. Man, quietly. If I do this, we do it together. Grace nods. Grace. Then we do it right. We do it together. Or not at all. Bright lights, chilly air, smiling faces that stretch just a little too wide. The man sits on a cushioned chair, wearing his best flannel. Grace sits beside him, hands clasped in her lap. The bride sits on his other side, more composed than either of them. Behind them, a screen shows the viral video still. The walk down the aisle. Caption. Soup Dad, the internet's unexpected father figure. Host, cheery. We're joined today by a man who didn't crash a wedding. He saved a life. Laughter from the studio audience. He chuckles nervously, eyes flicking toward Grace. Host. You've gone viral in over 30 countries. People are calling you the father the world needs. How does that feel? Man, quietly. Like a title I didn't earn. The host blinks, slightly off script. Host. Recovering. Well, you walked a stranger down the aisle. Isn't that heroic in itself? Grace, interrupting steady. Not if you've walked away from your own. Gasps ripple. Host. That's honest. Grace, softly. He wasn't always this man. There were birthdays he missed, school plays, Grief I carried alone. The bride looks down. The man stays still. Grace, conted. But people can grow, if they choose to show up. And that, more than soup or views, is what people should be talking about. Host, gently. So you've forgiven him? Grace glances at her father, holds his gaze. Grace, I'm sitting next to him. That's a start. The host smiles, but her eyes are soft now. Host, maybe showing up is the new forgiveness. It wasn't about fame. It was about filling the space between hurt and healing. With truth, the audience begins to clap, slowly, then louder. But the man doesn't look at them. He looks at Grace, and she doesn't look away. He failed me, but he's trying. The room glows from the laptop screen, phone notifications blinking like tiny heartbeats in the dark. The man sits cross-legged on the couch, scrolling slowly. Grace lies stretched out on the floor beside him, head resting on a pillow, quietly watching. The bride sips tea at the table, flipping through a small notebook. On screen, comments. Scrolling. I cried the moment his daughter said, "That's a start." Soup Dad is the dad we all needed and never had. Forgiveness isn't weak. It's brave. I haven't spoken to my father in 8 years. I'm calling him tonight. He exhales, shoulders rising and falling slowly. Man, these people don't even know me. Bride, gently. They don't have to. They know what you became. A new email arrives. He clicks. Subject, I wish he was my dad. From Anonymous Girl 42. When I saw the way you looked at her, like she mattered, I just wanted to say, I've never had that. But now I believe someone like you might exist. So, thank you. He stops reading. Hand trembling. He sets the laptop down. Grace, softly. They're not thanking you for being perfect. They're thanking you for not hiding your cracks. He nods. Quiet. Still unsure what to do with kindness when it comes from strangers. Narrator. Sometimes the world doesn't need a hero. It just needs someone to stay when everyone else walks out. Across the room, the bride scribbles something in her notebook. Bride, smirking. Thinking of changing my name? Grace. To what, bride? Soup daughter. They all laugh. The kind that feels earned. Man, grinning. You two are going to get me in trouble with the dictionary. Another notification pops up. You've been nominated for Local Hero of the Year. He closes the lid. Man, quietly. Let's just finish dinner. A letter from a girl. I wish he was my dad. Metal clinks. The scent of garlic and broth warms the air. A handwritten menu taped to the wall reads, Today's soup. Chicken and healing. The man stirs a giant pot, wearing an apron 2 sizes too big. Grace dices carrots beside him. Focused. Calm. The bride folds napkins and hums quietly. A melody with no words but a peaceful rhythm. It wasn't part of some redemption plan. There was no camera crew, no followers counting. Just people showing up. A few volunteers glance over. A young boy at the counter nudges his mother. Boy, whispers. Is that the soup guy? She nods, but doesn't approach. Just smiles. Grace, to her father. Still cutting the carrots wrong. Man, smirks. Still pretending like it matters. She laughs. She doesn't hide it this time. The kitchen door opens. A woman walks in. Tired eyes, torn jacket, child on her hip. Without a word, the man grabs a tray. A full bowl, a biscuit, a smile. He carries it to the woman, hands it to her gently. Man, softly. It's warm. Take your time. She nods with glassy eyes, sits at the table in the corner. Service isn't a performance, it's repetition. It's showing up even when the applause stops. The bride leans against the counter, watching him. Bride, quietly, to Grace. This is the real ceremony. Right here. Grace nods, lips pressed together. Grace. He's never been more of a father than he is right now. The man returns to the stove, refills the ladle and sighs. Man. Soup's running low. You two know what that means. Bride and Grace, in unison. More carrots. They laugh. The room softens. The soup simmers. The healing continues. Bride says, "This is the real ceremony." Golden sunlight slips through trees as if the sky itself is pausing to witness something sacred. A small crowd gathers outside the shelter, empty soup bowls stacked, laughter fading into warm quiet. The bride, Grace, and the man sit on a wooden bench beneath a blooming jacaranda tree. Someone calls out, "Volunteer," smiling. "Say cheese." It wasn't posed. It wasn't polished. But for once, no one flinched. The man has one arm draped lightly behind each woman. Grace leans just enough to brush his shoulder. The bride holds a wooden ladle like a joke trophy in her lap. Bride. This better not end up in a BuzzFeed slideshow. Grace. Too late. You're already trending under Miracle Men and the women who fed them. Click, a soft shudder. Then another. But this time they don't tense, because this time, the moment belongs to them. Bride, playfully. We're like a weird little soup cult. Man, laughs. We could do worse. He pulls something from his back pocket, an old photo folded at the corners. It's Grace, age 6, missing front teeth, holding a handmade Father's Day card. He shows it to her. Man. I kept it. Through everything. Grace stares, swallows, takes the photo gently. Grace. Soft. I remember drawing that. I thought if I made your smile big enough, you'd come home. He doesn't speak, just places his hand over hers, covering the photo. Some family portraits don't get framed. They live in moments, in meals, in the quiet after forgiveness. The bride grabs a napkin, writes something, folds it, and tucks it in the man's coat pocket. Bride. Just a note. For later. Man. Will it make me cry? Bride, smiling. If it doesn't, I failed. His real daughter whispers, "Okay, maybe you are my dad." Sunlight hasn't quite stretched across the skyline yet. A soft mist clings to the pavement like breath that forgot to leave. The bride stands near the bus, duffel bag slung over one shoulder. Grace and the man stand a few feet away, hands tucked in coat pockets. Some goodbyes don't come from sadness. They come from growth, from knowing that healing must continue elsewhere. Bride, grinning. So, it's real. I signed the lease. Grace. You really opened a bakery? Bride. In a town with one coffee shop and 0 croissants. I'm basically doing the Lord's work. They laugh. The kind that swells in the chest. The man reaches into his coat pocket, pulls out a napkin, the one she tucked there earlier. He unfolds it. On napkin. Thank you for being someone I didn't have to earn. He swallows hard, then offers her a small dented silver spoon, tied with a thin ribbon. Man. For stirring hope, or soup, whatever you need more. She takes it gently, blinks fast. Bride. If I ever get married again, Grace, teasing. Oh God, here we go. Bride. Smiling through tears. I'll send you both the invite, but this time you get front row. No shadows. The bus hisses. The door opens. She turns to the man. Bride. Soft. You didn't save me. You reminded me I was worth saving. She hugs him, tighter than before. Longer. Then turns to Grace. Bride. Take care of him. He burns soup when unsupervised. Grace. Duly noted. They watch her climb aboard. The bus pulls away. She waves through the window. They wave back. Man. Quietly. She saved me too. Not all family stays. Some arrive to teach us how to begin again. And then they go, so we can. You're always welcome. Bring soup. The door creaks open. The man steps inside, alone. The room is still. Too still. The laughter from the shelter, the teasing from the bride, the quiet glances from Grace. All gone now. He sets down his keys. His coat. The old thermos. Some silences echo louder than arguments, especially when they follow connection. He opens the fridge. Rows of neatly stacked containers. Broths, stews, leftover biscuits in cling wrap. A full fridge. No one to cook for. He closes it, sits at the kitchen table, looks at the third chair. Empty. Then at Grace's old cup, still drying by the sink. Then at the napkin from the bride, folded back up but kept close. He reaches into a drawer, pulls out a paper scrap. The one the bride wrote on that first day. I deserve to feel safe in love. He reads it again. Lets the words sit. Knock. Knock. His head lifts. He crosses to the door, opens it. Grace. Grocery bags in both arms. Wind in her hair. Grace, matter of fact. You have too much soup and not enough cereal. Move. He blinks, then smiles. Man. Wasn't sure you were coming back. Grace, walking past him. Wasn't sure either. She sets the bags on the counter, takes off her coat. Grace. I'm not staying forever. Man. I wouldn't ask you to. A quiet moment. She pulls out a box of her favorite childhood cereal, places it next to the thermos. Grace, half smile. You burn toast. You still don't get the milk to cereal ratio right. Man, grinning. But you're here. Empty houses don't stay empty forever. Sometimes all it takes is groceries. And Grace. Knock at the door. It's the daughter with groceries. The counter is cluttered with chopped celery, diced onion, a peeled potato mid-roll. The man stirs a large pot, the steam curling up like a memory made edible. Grace stands beside him, sleeves rolled. Knife in hand. Focused, Grace. No, you're chopping wrong again. That's not a dice. It's a vegetable massacre. Man, grinning. Somehow I made it through a decade of solo dinners. Grace. Yeah, I can smell that, he laughs. She does too, a little freer now. She nudges him aside, takes over the chopping. He watches her for a moment. The precision, the quiet pride. Man, softly. You get that from your mom. The rhythm, the way you move in a kitchen. Grace, without looking up. She used to say the kitchen was her orchestra. Every pan had its part. Man. And I was always offbeat. She smirks, then pauses, looks up. Grace. Quiet. You really don't know how much she held together, do you? Man, gently. I know now. I feel the gap she left. Every day. A beat. Grace. Softening. So do I. The soup bubbles softly. The room is warm now. She tosses in the final ingredient. Wipes her hands. He tastes it. Raises an eyebrow. Man. You changed it. Grace. Less time. More garlic. Man, grinning. Still tastes like home. They both look at the pot. Narrator. They weren't just fixing dinner. They were stirring a new story, one without blame, one with room for second drafts. Grace, quietly. We're not fixing the past. We're feeding the future. He nods. Slowly, then places the lid on the pot. Man. Dinner's ready. We're not fixing the past. We're feeding the future. The table still has traces of dinner, an empty bowl, 2 spoons resting together like they belonged. The man is reclined on the old couch. Grace is curled up in the armchair, scrolling her phone. Outside, soft rain taps the window. Ring. Ring. The man's phone lights up. Unknown number. He hesitates. Answers. Man, cautious. Hello? A beat. His expression changes. Man, surprised. Oh, hey, slow down. Breathe. What happened? Grace sits up, alert. Man, into phone. You did what? His eyes widen. Int bride's small bakery. Flashback montage. The bride is surrounded by flour, chaos, and kids. She kneels down beside a small boy holding a toy dinosaur. The child hugs her. Man. To Grace, holding out the phone. It's her. Grace. Half smile. The bride? Man. She adopted. A little boy from the foster center. Said she couldn't stand another birthday knowing he didn't have someone to sing to him. Grace's expression softens. Man. Still on phone. She wants us to visit, but she asked something else. He swallows. Looks at Grace. Man. She wants me. Us. To be his family. She asked if I'd be his grandfather. Grace looks stunned. Grace. Processing. She barely knows you. Man. Smiling softly. She knows what I gave her. A thermos, a chair, a reason not to walk into a bad future. Grace nods slowly. Grace. Softly. Well then, we better bring soup. Families aren't always formed by history. Sometimes they're chosen over phone calls, during quiet nights, when hearts feel wide enough to hold one more. Will you be his grandfather? Sunlight pours in through the windows, spilling golden light over everything. The smell of warm bread and cinnamon fills the space. There's laughter from the front. Flour in the air. In the back room, the man sits at a tiny table, stirring a small pot of soup on a portable stove. Grace stands nearby, holding a baby boy in her arms, wide-eyed, curious, cheeks like soft clouds. The bride enters, apron dusted, smiling. Bride. He skipped nap time. But for soup? He might cooperate. Man, grinning. He's got good instincts. Grace, mock whispering to baby. You sure about this? It's your first taste of Grandpa's signature dish. It changed lives, you know, the baby gurgles, kicks his feet. The man chuckles, ladles out a tiny spoonful, blowing gently to cool it. Man, to baby. All right, little one, be gentle. It's ancient family magic. Grace leans in, offers the spoon. The baby slurps it. A pause. Then, he smiles. Wide. Bright. Pure delight. Bride, beaming. That's the same smile I had, the night everything changed. Grace, softly. It's the garlic. They all laugh. Narrator. Sometimes joy doesn't arrive with trumpets. It arrives in tiny spoons, in borrowed kitchens, in the smile of a child too young to know the weight of the moment. The man watches the baby. Something shifts in his expression. Man, whispering. He smiled, just like I did. The bride gently touches his shoulder. Grace sets another bowl beside him. 3 generations, 1 table, 1 recipe. He smiled like I did. Bright lights, a modest set designed to look like a cozy living room. 2 mugs with the station's logo. The man, Grace, and the bride sit side by side on the couch. The baby gurgles quietly in the bride's lap, gripping a wooden spoon. Across from them sits a cheerful female anchor, holding a stack of cue cards. Behind them, a screen shows the viral clip. The man offering soup. The bride grabbing his hand mid-wedding. The aisle walk. Encore. Warmly. It's been 6 months since the Soup Dad made headlines, and today, they're more than a headline. They're a family. The man shifts slightly, self-conscious. Grace gently nudges his elbow. Anchor. So tell me, what saved you? A moment of silence. The studio quiets. Even the baby seems to pause. The man looks up, voice soft but certain. Man. A hot meal. And a moment of staying. Encore. Leaning in. Staying. Man. Yeah, everyone talks about leaving. But when someone's falling apart, sometimes what saves them is someone who stays. The anchor blinks. Emotion flickers behind her smile. Grace. Quietly. He didn't try to fix us. He just didn't leave. Bride. He fed what was starving in us, and it wasn't just hunger. The baby squeals, as if agreeing. The whole studio chuckles. Not every hero kicks down doors. Some just boil water, add garlic, and offer warmth that lingers long after the bowl is empty. The camera pans out slowly, catching their silhouettes under the studio lights. No special effects. No dramatic music, just one man, two women who chose him, and a baby with soup on his cheek. A hot meal, and a man who stayed. A modest room. Framed photo of the soup cafe under construction hangs crookedly on the wall. Stacks of envelopes clutter the desk. The man sits in a worn chair, glasses on, carefully opening letter after letter. Grace leans in the doorway with a mug of tea. She watches silently as he reads, sometimes smiling, sometimes staring too long at the paper. Grace. You going to answer them all? Man, gentle. Feels like I should. Some of these boys, they sound like I used to. He holds up a letter, reading aloud. Man. Reading. My daughter won't speak to me. I messed up. But I saw your story and I thought, maybe I still could try. He sets the letter down carefully. Grace. They're not asking for miracles. Just a place to begin. He nods. Picks up another one. Narrator. There were no credentials after his name. No degrees in counseling. No books written. But somehow, through soup, silence, and a wedding aisle, he'd become something many had never known. An example. A young man stirring soup in his kitchen while watching the viral clip. A middle-aged dad writing a letter, sealing it with trembling hands. A son hugging his father after years, handing him a thermos. Home office. Back to scene Grace. Teasing. So what's your advice? How do you start being a better dad? He looks up, a small smile forming. Man, start with soup. It's warm. It waits. And it doesn't judge if you come back late. Grace chuckles, steps in and kisses the top of his head. You don't have to say the perfect thing. You just have to show up and stay. Start with soup. Golden sunlight spills over freshly cut lawns. Families crowd the folding chairs set across a green field. Names are called. Applause ripples through the crowd like waves. The man sits in the back row, quietly dressed. No sign, no camera, just his hands clenched in his lap, holding a small velvet box. Grace sits beside him, her hand resting lightly over his. The bride is on the other side, rocking the baby in her lap. A name echoes from the microphone. Announcer, O.S. Grace Hawthorne. Applause. The man doesn't move, but his eyes track her crossing the stage. She's radiant in the sunlight, strong, calm, a quiet smile on her face. She takes her diploma with both hands, turns, and her eyes find him. She walks off the stage. A moment later, she's standing right in front of him. Grace. Softly. You made it. Man. Voice catching. Wouldn't miss it for the world. She holds out her hand. Grace. Dad, will you take a picture with me? He stares at her, stunned. That word. Like music he hasn't heard in years. Some words aren't earned in blood. They're earned in effort. Consistency. Presence. The bride quickly pulls out her phone, motioning them closer. They huddle together. Grace's cap knocks askew. The man laughs. The baby drools on his shoulder. Bride, teasing. Say, soup, all, together. Soup. Click, the camera flashes. It wasn't the stage. It wasn't the diploma. It was that word. Spoken without hesitation, offered without condition. Dad? Dad, will you take a picture with me? The house is quiet. Sunlight pushes gently through linen curtains. Steam curls from a familiar pot on the stove. Soup, of course. The man stands barefoot, stirring slowly. Wearing an apron with a faded handprint on the front, he hums faintly. Off-key, but warm. A soft knock. He turns. Grace stands in the doorway holding a small envelope. The bride follows, baby on hip, holding a second card. They look at each other. No words yet, just smiles. Grace, gently. Happy Father's Day. He freezes. Ladle mid-air. Man, softly. I never thought I'd hear that again. Bride, offering the card. You didn't just earn it. You redefined it. He takes both cards in his hands like they're made of glass. The baby reaches out and pats his shoulder. Grace. Teasing. He approves. That's baby code for love you. There was no parade, no grand speech, just a kitchen, a pot of soup, and 3 people who chose each other, again and again. He opens Grace's card. Inside a photo of her graduation day, scrawled in blue ink. Thanks for staying. Then the bride's card. A drawing of a soup bowl, 3 stick figures, and a baby scribble. Caption. Fatherhood looks good on you. Man, choked up. I don't know what I did to deserve this. Grace, smiling. You showed up. Every day since the alley. That's what dads do. He reaches across and pulls them both into a long, quiet hug. The baby giggles, caught in the middle. Fatherhood wasn't a title he was born into. It was a role he grew into. 1 bowl, 1 word, 1 day at a time. You earned the title. A hand-painted sign is being hung above a cozy corner storefront. It reads, Thermos and thread below it. Smaller letters. Soup. Stories. Second chances. The man stands on the sidewalk, shielding his eyes from the sun. Grace tightens the last bolt on the sign from the ladder. The bride pushes a stroller beside them, baby babbling excitedly. Grace, grinning. It's crooked, like you, but it works. Man, laughs. Crooked's got character, just like the soup. They unlock the door. A soft bell jingles. Int. Soup shop. Continuous. Inside. Rustic wood counters. Shelves lined with mismatched thermoses. Handwritten menus. A chalkboard wall with a quote. When someone's crying, bring soup first. Words can wait. He walks to the kitchen, runs his hand along the gleaming prep table. Steam rises as the first pot bubbles softly. Bride. You nervous? Man, terrified, but in a good way. Grace. Hands him a ladle. Well, go serve your legacy. First customer enters. A woman with tear-streaked eyes. She looks unsure, clutching a folded newspaper with his story. He offers her a warm smile. Man. Rough day. She nods barely. Man, gently. Chicken and rice, okay? It saved me once. She nods again. He ladles soup into a thermos, wraps it in a napkin, and slides it across. It wasn't about broth or recipes. It was about warmth, about being fed when the world left you hungry in more ways than one. Customers keep trickling in. Quiet, broken, curious. And one by one, he feeds them all. Grace, watching from afar. Every bowl tells a story. Bride. And this one finally has a happy ending. The man lifts his thermos high. Man, to second chances, and soup that sticks. Every bowl tells a story. A long wooden table sits under strings of soft lights. Framed photos of soup recipes, old thermoses, and candid memories line the walls. The room feels lived in, like a kitchen that has witnessed both grief and laughter. At the table sit the man, in an apron, slightly stained from the evening rush. Grace, relaxed, scrolling through fan letters on her phone. The bride, bouncing the baby gently on her lap. Steam rises from 3 mismatched bowls, the same soup that started it all. Bride, smiling at the baby. This one's his 3rd bowl. He might be the new record holder. Grace, playful. Only if he doesn't throw it at the wall like last time. Man, he's learning. We all did. The baby babbles, grabs the man's pinky. He doesn't pull away. There were no name tags at this table. No bloodlines that defined the love. Just people who chose each other. Over and over again. Grace. Softly. I used to hate soup. Now it tastes like home. Man, chuckling. That's because I stopped putting too much garlic. Bride, gently. No, it's because it's not just soup anymore. It's the story, the silence, the showing up. He looks around the table. One hand reaches out to Grace. the other to the bride. They both hold on. The baby giggles and claps. Man, teary-eyed. You know, I didn't get to raise you both, but I get to sit here now. And that's enough. Family sometimes isn't who raised you. It's who feeds your soul when the world goes cold. They toast their spoons, clinked gently against ceramic bowls. All to warmth. Family isn't blood. It's who shows up with soup. Soft golden light filters through the front windows. Chairs are still upside down on tables. The kitchen smells faintly of rosemary and simmered broth. The man stands at the counter, polishing an old dented thermos. Its surface is scratched, worn, but still shines beneath the years. A small pair of feet pitter-patter into the room. The bride's son, now a toddler, climbs up onto a stool. Boy, pointing. Soup? Man smiles, always. But today, you get something else first. He crouches beside the boy, holds the thermos in both hands. Man, gently. This old thing? It's been through a lot. Held 1,000 stories. Some salty, some sweet. The boy stares at it, curious. Man, softly. One day, someone might cry, and you might not know what to say. So you give them this. You pour something warm, and you stay. He places the thermos in the boy's lap. Man, smiling through misty eyes. That's all love is, really. Staying. With soup. The bride appears at the door, watching silently. Grace leans against the counter, arms folded, eyes glistening. Grace whispers. You really gonna pass that on? Man. It was never mine to keep. The boy hugs the thermos tight, as if it understands him. He had nothing when he first offered soup to a stranger. Not a family, not a home, not even a reason to stay. But he stayed anyway, and built something worth passing on. Bride, kneeling beside the boy. What do we say when someone's hurting? The boy grins. Boy, bring soup first. Words can wait. The man laughs, a full and open sound.